Kentucky Derby.
Move around the turn. The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for 3.
Next is in the center of the racetrack. The Admiral Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem, he's pulling away. He's got another gear. Down the stretch they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lion Heart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's Blue of 1976.
The road to the Kentucky Derby began 7.5 months ago in September, right here at Churchill Downs. The road is now complete. We are back here. We've got the contenders for Kentucky Derby 152, the Oaks as well. Day one of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. Beautiful conditions here in Louisville as we get ourselves set for a tremendous ride leading up to the Derby. Take a look at the headlines. Potential Kentucky Derby favorite Renegade posts a strong workout yesterday in South Florida for trainer Todd Pletcher. Prom Queen, one of the likely favorites in a wide open edition of the Kentucky Oaks. She tuned up locally for Brad Cox. And speaking of Brad, he holds a very strong hand at Kentucky Derby 152, led by two horses that worked this morning, Commandment, In Company, Further Ado Solo. They both look good. We'll take a look at those works a little bit later on under the Twin Spires. And this year we've got a father and son duo in the Derby. Bill Mott won the race last year. Riley Mott, his son, he's got two potential Derby starters. They will go head-to-head in a family affair. Joe Christopher and Tony Kalo joining you. And Tony, I mentioned it 7.5 months ago, Spice Runner, who's not going to be in the Derby this year. He was the first horse to get winning points on the road to the Kentucky Derby 152. And we've had such a journey, a lot of ups and downs for a lot of these horses, some very experienced like Pavlovian, others not so much like Emerging Market.
7.5 months, Joe. Time flies by when you're having fun, and we're going to be having a lot of fun the next couple of weeks.
Speaking of having fun, we've got a cast of characters spread all over Churchill Downs, and a man that may have gotten here before the trainers themselves this morning. He loves coming out for workouts. He's got the best view on the finish line, fourth floor. Let's welcome in Kevin Kilroy.
Another beautiful sunrise underneath the Twin Spires. We've got the fast main track, clear conditions, a little bit chillier than the past couple mornings. You know, guys, it's been a notably wide open Derby trail this year, but three standouts have emerged in Renegade, Commandment, and Further Ado. Two of those trained by Brad Cox. He's got a trio in the top 5 on the leaderboard. Gulfstream Park, the Florida Series, seems to be the key one to focus in on with the likes of Commandment, the Puma, Chief Wallaby coming out of that one. And past those top horses, we've got about 5 or 8 very interesting contenders, 3 international horses we've got to get to know, and a lot of fun here as we see these horses on the track heading into Kentucky Derby 152. I'll be up here on Millionaires Row, but we've got Caitlin Benson at the Lucas Gap ready to show us what it's like with the boots on the ground.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Pleased to be back here on the backside. And you mentioned it, a lot of heavy hands coming in from Florida. Renegade, probably going to be the morning line favorite coming out of Arkansas for this year's Kentucky Derby. He had a work yesterday in Florida. Wonder Dean had a little piece of work here over the surface. He's going to have something a little bit more serious early on next week. Prom Queen also worked over the surface here yesterday, as well as Zany and She Be Smooth in Florida. And Percy's Bar at Keeneland had what I thought was the most impressive work of the day yesterday. 47 flat for the half, out in 59 and 3 for the 5 furlong distance. And it was a good time, but it's also about how you do it. And I thought she looked very, very nice. So I'm excited to see a lot of horses on the grounds out here this morning. But also joining me on the backside for the first time on the Morning Work Show is Ren Carruthers. Ren, we are so excited to have you, and I know you're going to bring a lot of amazing content to the show. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much, Caitlin. I'm doing amazing. Pinch me. Oh my gosh, I'm on the backside in front of the Brad Cox barn. I've got Prom Queen over my shoulder over there. It is so cool. And yes, as the guys already went over, it's been a big morning already. Commandment went out and he works in company with a horse named Direct Strike. Worked 5 furlongs. Further Ado worked solo. He did 4 officially, galloped out in 5. Both of them came back, cooled out really nicely. It was kind of fun. Brad was brushing out Commandment's forelock. And I'll tell you, I mean, these horses, as they're gearing up for this, the biggest race of their lives, for us to be witnessing it, it is absolutely, I'm going to use the cliche word, surreal. Joe, Tony, I know you've gotten to do this for a couple years, but I never get tired of this. Back to you guys.
No, this is impossible to get tired of. And we're going to take a look, Tony, at the cast of characters for Kentucky Derby at 152. There are a couple horses on the outside looking in, but there are some horses currently in the body of the field that have not yet 100% committed to running in the race. There's the power. There's Brad. He's got 3 of the top 5, Commandment, Further Ado, and Full Effort.
Unbelievable. Brad has 3 of the top 5, Commandment, Further Ado, Full Effort. Unbelievable that a trainer can have that many in the top 5.
The Puma, very similar to Mage, Connections.
Yes.
Coming out of Florida, he could be a little bit of a wise guy horse as we take a look at page number 2. And Tony, Stark Contrast, he's one of those that more likely for the American turf might come out of the body of the field. We'll see him work between the designated training times later. Daniel Bourbon, Wonder Dean, 6 Speed. They are the foreign horses this season. And the horse that's on the outside looking in, Chief Wallaby. Bill Mott won the last Derby with Sovereignty. Junior Alvarado was aboard that one as well.
This horse, Chief Wallaby, everybody wants to see him draw in. He has tremendous talent. I think he'll get in. We usually see the 21 early on in the point standings make their way to the first Saturday in May.
A lot of these horses are here on the ground, some of them yet to arrive. That's all going to happen over the course of the next week plus here under the Twin Spires at Churchill Downs. And for more detailed information, let's send it back down to Caitlin Benson with a special guest.
Well, thank you, Joe. We have to start off this morning work show right, and who better to have our first guest than Kevin Kirstein, affectionately known to us as KK. And Joe kind of mentioned it. We don't have a lot of Derby and Oaks contenders on the ground. When is the deadline that they have to be here, Kevin?
So they have to get here before entry day, which is opening day here at Churchill on Saturday, April the 25th by 11 a.m. that morning. And so we have several horses on the grounds, but I think all eyes will be on Renegade for Todd Pletcher and, the likely Derby favorite. He should be here probably around 4 a.m. on Saturday, April the 25th. Todd said he's going to keep him in the nice sunny weather down at Palm Beach Downs in South Florida. So all eyes will be when Renegade gets here, but they all have to be here before that opening day deadline.
As far as some of our other big contenders, who do we already have here?
I think all the action is at Barn 22 for Brad Cox with his trio of Kentucky Derby contenders, 2 of which we saw work already. One we'll see work here in a few minutes between Full Effort, Further Ado, and Commandment. We have several others here. Albus for Riley Mott, Right to Party for Kenny McPeak, Chief Wallaby just on the outside looking in, same with Chip Honcho. So several of those contenders we're going to get good looks at, along with Wonder Dean, who is the one of 2 Japan-based Kentucky Derby contenders.
So you mentioned works not only today as well as the next couple of days. Who are we expected to see local works from here, and who maybe is not going to have a local drill?
I think we'll see a lot of one works here. So on Monday, we'll have the Puma coming in here. We'll have a horse like Silent Tactic. We'll have a lot of the California horses that'll come in here midpoint of next week. And then we'll have the one horse that we won't see a local work, looks like Renegade, who is the favorite to have his work down at Palm Beach Downs. So we're going to have a lot of those one works that we'll see on April the 25th. Most of them will probably be maintenance drills with that, 7 days out before the Kentucky Derby. So this weekend is sort of the big work weekend for a lot of these Kentucky Derby contenders. We saw 2 of them already this morning. We'll see another big work from Full Effort here in a few minutes.
Who are we expecting to arrive here in the coming days?
On Monday is I'm excited to see the Puma is going to be here. Incredible will come in for Riley Mott. The California Plains are split between April the 21st and the 22nd, so we'll have So Happy on one of those plains. You'll have Potente for Bob Baffert. Several contenders from his barn will ship in, usually with a lot of his stablemates. So they'll be split between those couple of days, April the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. As always, Derby plans are so fluid for all these contenders. Things change so much. So we'll see with things change in the next couple of hours. It could change in the next 48 to 72 hours. But that's the plan right now. But they're in pencil.
Bath picks or barn cat picks?
Oh, my gosh. You kidding me? It's 0. Red Bull. Red Bull gets me through the mornings, Caitlin. I know Barn Cats and Bath Picks gets you through the morning. Red Bull gets me through the mornings.
Red Bull gives KK wings, and as we talked about a little bit early on, 1 to 9 to be the most productive member of the team here on the backside as far as Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks go. Make sure you give them a follow on social media. Back to you guys.
Yeah, I've seen Kevin's office. It is stacked in that refrigerator with Red Bulls. Adult beverages a little bit later on as we move closer to Kentucky Derby 152. Don't forget, follow Horse Racing KK on Twitter. Renegade, if you're talking about the most visually impressive performance of all the Derby preps, would be tough not to give this one the nod based on that victory in the Arkansas Derby, Tony.
The turn of foot was scintillating. I know the level of competition doesn't stack up to the Fountain of Youth, the Florida Derby, but the way he won it was ultra impressive.
Renegade had a recent work in South Florida. He's on the inside of the stablemate here. And Tony, it's interesting because like so many of the horses in this field, he likes to do his best work from off the pace.
You know, when you see a horse on the inside, they're the one that has to do the heavy lifting. He's getting pushed on, he's getting pressed on. I think this is going to serve him well leading up to the Kentucky Derby. As you mentioned, he's a late runner. Putting him on the inside, I think they're asking him for a little more early foot. Maybe that's an anticipation of trying to be a little bit closer than he has been in the preps.
Kevin, you are a connoisseur of workouts, so what are you seeing here?
Well, it's interesting. We haven't seen Renegade work since the Arkansas Derby, and Pletcher's stating that he thinks his fitness level is good, but they're asking a lot from him here. Power Shift on the outside, also owned by Rapoli Stable, an impressive maiden who also ran the Tampa Bay Derby, getting nudged on, really pushing from the outside, and Renegade's doing it so nicely on the inside to keep his head in front. Now we see the time of 4 furlongs, 48-4. But the gallop out so huge for Todd Pletcher, and that's when we see Renegade get asked, and he continues to impress as he surges away, after they get around the bend here. I thought this was a big move. This is what you want to see from the likely favorite in the Kentucky Derby. It's all systems go. Things are going great for Renegade.
Irad Ortiz Jr. had ridden Further Ado. He had ridden the other top Brad Cox trained contender in Commandment. He had ridden Renegade. He is aboard Renegade, maybe something to do with that Mike Rapoli connection for his final decision-making choice. All right, we go from Renegade in South Florida to Potente for the all-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer Bob Baffert, tied with 6 victories with Ben Jones. Potente, Southern California, notable win to San Felipe, and this is a nice move, Tony.
It's a very nice move. This is a horse they paid a lot of money for. We've seen that over the years with Bob Baffert and his owners. They're willing to shill out the cash. Potente, what I like about this move is right now he doesn't seem to be asked for much. And the jockey's hands, the exercise rider's hands remain the same throughout. But I thought his intensity increased quite a bit in the final quarter of a mile. I came away very impressed from this move.
Yeah, I did too. Kevin, what are you seeing here?
Solo. We've seen him in company with the likes of Crude Velocity, Cherokee Nation, top 3-year-olds for Baffert. I see a horse that's flying. I think he really does pick it up down the stretch. You can see his action, a little bit crabby. It reminds me a touch of Vacoma in terms of that paddling there. But this move moved him up in my estimation. I think Potente is very interesting. Maybe had a little bit of an excuse in the Santa Anita Derby as well.
Yeah, Potente most recently second behind So Happy in the Grade 1 Santa Anita Derby, going at 9 furlongs. He only run 3 times leading into Kentucky Derby 152. All right, let's shift gears back to Brad Cox, looking to lay down the law. Commandment by Into Mischief. The Dam Sipican Harbor had a very promising career cut short. Tony, she was a stakes winner at age 2. This horse has already made $1 million.
He's won 4 in a row. He's looking for that high 5 in the Kentucky Derby. He's not going to overpower you as far as the way you're going to view this workout, going, wow, that was incredible. He's a grinder. He's a big horse. Look at the chest on this horse. Look at the hind end on him. He's a powerful individual, and just like his Fountain of Youth at his Florida Derby, he continually comes at you, and that's what he did in this workout.
Yeah, nothing flashy in the races either. I mean, he was under a ride from the 5/16 pole to the wire in the Florida Derby, but still got the job done over the Puma. Leads me to believe that this horse will handle 1.25 miles. And this workmate, Kevin, as we take a look at this move, certainly no slouch.
Yeah, direct strike. We saw him down at Fairgrounds for his last effort. Still a maiden, but a strong mover in the AM. And this is the typical setup that we see for Commandment. He's on the outside, just really keeping even with this pace setter on the inside, whether it's Heath Slade again, who we saw last time, or Direct Strike here. It's nothing flashy. When I saw it with my own eyes, I'm like, all right, just a typical workman-like move from Commandment, but you can see the time there, 59-3. They were flying. That definitely set by that inside horse. He is so strong. He's a beast. He's a tank. A touch more choppy sort of action than the likes of Further Ado, who we'll see in a second, who's got that athletic move. But this is a big, big effort from Commandment, and I'm very excited about him out of this performance.
Without further ado, actually with further ado, in this prospective field of 20, dominant winner of the Bluegrass last out, Tony, but maybe a hole to poke. Reagan's Honor, the main contender, did not bring his A game. He reportedly bled that particular day. Further ado, just a stroll in the park in Lexington, winning by almost a dozen.
Very, very impressive victory. The company lines are somewhat questionable. His affinity for the Keeneland surface has also been noted. 2 of his best victories have been over this racetrack. He got the perfect setup in the Bluegrass, and he took full advantage.
We're going to see this work as we send it back to Kevin. And Joe with the works, Kevin, gives it a 4-star move for sure, if not more.
4 out of what, Joe?
4 out of 5. I would say maybe 5, but you know, Bruner doesn't give 5 stars.
This is a fantastic move, and it's what you want to see. I mean, I've had in my mind just a touch. 2 years ago, we saw that Brad Cox trainee win the Bluegrass Stakes and be a little bit flat, be a little bit ragged around the track here heading into the Kentucky Derby, and he didn't run well. Further ado, he's electric. He's still got his energy. We saw him run very huge as a 2-year-old at Keeneland, maybe bounce a touch in terms of figure, but still win that Kentucky Jockey Club. I think he's going to be ready to roll, and he's proven fastest horse, so this is what you want to see. Big energy, athletic stride, huge gallop out from Further Ado.
Huge gallop out is right. I love that little nudge, Tony, going into the turn and the horse really responding. And look at this gallop out. Look at the energy.
You know, I'm a big fan of gallop outs, and this is a very, very nice move. Further Ado looking sensational, coming out of the Bluegrass in very, very good fashion.
Further Ado, 3 for 6 lifetime, 1.1 million in the bank, and Johnny Velasquez, no stranger, the Kentucky Derby winner circle, has been named to ride for the first time in this horse's 6-race career. All right, we are here at Churchill Downs, a designated training time for workers, 7:15 to 7:30. We've seen Commandment, Further Ado work, and Commandment, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, Ren Carruthers, has some very intriguing pedigree.
Oh, that is for sure, because obviously when we're looking at the Kentucky Derby, we're looking at something these colts have never done before. They're going to be asked to go 1.25 miles, so we have to check that pedigree. Do they have the stamina to do it? And you look at Commandments, and he looks like he's got the pedigree credentials. Not only is he a son of Into Mischief, who's already sired multiple Kentucky Derby winners, including last year's Sovereignty, who went on to be Horse of the Year, but then he's out of Sippican Harbor, who you mentioned, Grade 1 winner. She's a daughter of Orb. Orb won the Fountain of Youth. He won the Florida Derby, just like this boy did, and then he won the Kentucky Derby. That was in 2013. Not only that, but Orb is out of a daughter of Unbridled, who is also a Kentucky Derby winner. So yeah, I would say, Joe and Tony, this horse has got the goods. I'm going to throw it right back to you.
Yeah, I don't think the 1.25 miles is going to be any problem based on the pedigree, Tony, or what we've seen from him in his races.
You know, as Ren just mentioned about Unbridled blood on the bottom with Orb, you also get AP Indy blood there as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So he checks a lot of boxes. As you can see, it's renovation time here at Churchill Downs. The track is being manicured for the Kentucky Derby and Oaks horses who will work during the designated training time at 7:15. Speaking of the Oaks, we're going to take a closer look after this.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
With over 200 flavor notes to discover, every sip of Woodford Reserve bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show, presented by TwinSpires.com. Fast, safe, easy to use. Lots of good things happening at Twin Spires. Make sure you get that account filled up for the next couple of weeks here at Keeneland, and then leading right into Churchill Downs, where opening day is a week from tomorrow. Joe Christopher and Tony Kalo joining you. We are anticipating the designated training time between 7:15 and 7:30 for the Oaks and Derby horses. And, you know, we talked about the Derby being a little bit top heavy potentially. Man, there's a lot of different Oaks horses that are going to take money the first Friday in May.
Boy, it's a very wide open affair. You can make a case for half of the field, even maybe more so. I'm looking forward to this race.
It's going to be interesting to see who the favorite will be amongst these. Don't forget, only 14 for the Kentucky Oaks versus 20 for the Derby, meaning Southern California Percy's Bar. She was awesome at Keeneland last time. Bella Ballerina, her sister won the Derby a couple years ago.
Yeah, Bella Ballerina, I mean, I know she recently lost for the first time in her life, but she was even money. It was her second start on the comeback bid as a 3-year-old. She might actually offer a little value.
We look at some of the longer shots on the second page and some of the outside horses that are looking in, AEs 15 through 18. And again, we do have 14 horses that'll enter the starting gate for the Kentucky Oaks. Brad Cox lost one of his contenders, Life of Joy, just a few days ago, but Prom Queen certainly does represent a barn well, Tony, and Brad has already won the Kentucky Oaks 3 times, including last year.
Yeah, Brad has been very tough in this category. His fillies have performed very well in the Kentucky Oaks, and here's Prom Queen with a very nice workout just yesterday.
Yeah, and a typical pattern for Brad, 1 turn mile, mile and a 16th, mile and a 16th. Dominant winner of the Gulfstream Park Oaks, Tony. She really got on my radar with that performance.
I think she got on everybody's radar after that performance. There wasn't a lot to know about her. She'd only run on 2 occasions. And she looked good when graduating. Very authoritative 8-length victory as an odds-on favorite. She validated that maiden score with a very good victory in the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Where does she slot in with the horses that you like for the Oaks, Kevin, and what are you seeing here?
Yeah, she's up there for sure, Joe. She's a major contender. Her ears, you can see how she's just kind of, her ears sort of rotating back and forth, listening to her rider in the turn, and she sets down a very nice run here. Strong time, 5 furlongs, 101. She's leggy, she's long, she's very beautiful mover. We won't see her full gallop out, but she really doesn't get pulled up until the 3/8 pull. So huge energy here from Prom Queen. Distance is not going to be a question at all. I think this is a great move from her. We've been seeing her come out later in the day consistently. My understanding that she maybe gets spooked a little bit easy. So that big crowd is one concern for Prom Queen come that first Friday in May.
Earlier in the Oaks prep season, it looked like Zany might be a defined favorite. She was a pretty strong favorite in the future wager pool, but she was second last out to Percy's Bar in the Ashton. We'll talk more about Percy's Bar a little bit later. Interesting, Tony, that Todd Pletcher is working his 2 Oaks contenders against one another. Zany on the outside of She Be Smooth.
Yeah, you know, I guess when you have 2 very talented fillies and they're both pointing for the same race, why not try them together? Zany recently second, as you mentioned, in the Ashland. I know Percy's Bar looked great winning that race. I came out of that race with a lot of respect for Zany, more so than I had going in. I thought she had good energy in the concluding stages. It was her first race in a couple of months. I think she's going to get a lot out of that defeat.
Yeah, Kevin, and that was a short stretch mile and a 16th at Keeneland. Much different ball game going a mile and an 1/8 at Churchill.
Yeah, they crawled in that race, and it was a great heady ride by Machado, cutting the corner. I think she had some excuses. The further, the better for Zany. You know, Pletcher's on record saying that he thought maybe they went a little bit quick in this move early on, quicker than he would have liked. So having those 2 primed fillies together maybe causes them to go quick early. But you can see about here on how Zany has tons in the tank. She gets asked to touch, and she pulls away and wins this work with She Be Smooth. She's still at the top of my list in terms of these Oaks fillies.
Yeah, she could have dominated that work even more if she wanted to with the exercise rider on the outside. This is a nice move from Zany.
And you can just see the size. She's physically more imposing than her stablemate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. She's been a little bit green in the stretch in some of her races, man, but when she puts it all together, Zany's going to be a good one. In fact, she already is. What about Percy's Bar? Dominant winner of the Alcibiades, third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies with major excuses. Back off the bench in the Ashland Tony, and she put on a show.
That was super, super impressive. She hadn't run it all as a 3-year-old. Now, will she bounce after that effort with only one prep leading up to the Kentucky Oaks? This workout would say no, the bounce is not in effect. This was a good work. Caitlin Benson really liked this work from yesterday.
Yeah, and Kevin, she got a great trip in the Ashland. Down on the inside, short field, short stretch, as I mentioned, but looked like she could have even done more than she did, leaving a little bit left in the tank for the Oaks.
What impressed me most about Percy's Bar heading into the Ashland, and you can see it here too, is how much weight and muscle she has put on. She's a much stronger filly than she was as a 2-year-old, and she was ultra impressive as a 2-year-old. So she's been looking the part absolutely in the AM.
Percy's Bar likely to be one of the favorites, and we've said that about every horse we've taken a look at, just speaks to how wide open the Kentucky Oaks is. Horse that might fly under the radar, but it looks like she will be a pace presence for Saffie Joseph, My Miss Mo. Now, she's been the model of consistency, second best in the Devona Dale, the She Be Smooth, second best again in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Both of those races at Gulfstream in grade 2s.
That was recently was her first time around 2 turns, and she set the pace. They went 12-2 at Gulfstream. It's not like they were flying. I thought Prom Queen handled her with ease. I think she'll have to elevate her game a little bit. Maybe she's going to be more suited for shorter distances when it's all said and done. But she does have Uncle Mo blood up top with Quality Road on the bottom.
Yeah, she would be a surprise in the Kentucky Oaks.
I would agree.
But again, a horse that's honest, that is coming into the race in good form.
Her only victory is against state-bred Florida competition.
There you go. All right, lots of great things happening at Twin Spires. Promotions on the reg, fast, safe, easy to use. Lots of great stories, analysis, expert picks, and they are huge in the tournament world. Can you beat the best on Derby weekend? Prove in the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge from Twin Spires, qualify in one of the upcoming tournaments, or bring $5,000 to the table. Bet $3,500 in that live bankroll. Wager across Churchill Downs' biggest races, all the way to the Kentucky Derby. Compete for $300,000 in guaranteed money, plus seats to some of the biggest handicapping tournaments in horse racing. 7 races minimum, $250 per race, 1 leaderboard, 1 winner. Enter now at twinspires.com. Bet big, win bigger. Terms apply. See the website for details. All right, we got another great Twin Spires promotion. It is the Bet and Set. This is a new tournament style. And Tony, I think you're a fan of this. You need to handicap without hesitation. The Bet and Set tournaments at Twin Spires pick every horse, place every wager before the first race in the tournament goes off. No edits, no do-overs, just your instincts and your handicapping prowess versus the field. Win and place bets only. Build your bankroll across 5 races and top the leaderboard for cash and prizes. Enter now at Twin Spires. Bet it, set it, let it ride. Terms apply. See twinspires.com for details. And this way you can't get swooped, Tony, by some long shot when you had the best opinions to begin with.
Yeah, it's very unique, and I like it. Boy, Twin Spires continues to do great stuff, especially with all the tournaments. We've got the Parlay Central. It just gets better and better.
We've got stark contrast. We've got full effort expected to work during the designated training time. I'm hoping to see Chief Wallaby a lot more. The Oaks horses in the pink. The yellow saddle towels of the Kentucky Derby contenders, as the renovation break is basically over, just a couple of minutes away from the horses stepping their way onto the racetrack for the first time on the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With Twin Spires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. And now you can race to victory with Twin Spires tournaments.
elegance is an attitude.
We are the Kentucky Derby Morning Work Show presented by Twin Spires as the horses approach their respective gaps to go on to the racetrack for the designated training time between 7:15 and 7:30. And Tony, you know, how important are these workouts, the gallops, everything to you in your handicapping process? Because we've seen the races, which I believe are most important, but these finishing touches certainly can alter your thoughts.
I agree. You don't want to see horses have poor workouts. They can have average workouts and you'll be okay, maybe that wasn't what I wanted. But when you start to see poor workouts leading up 2 weeks out, that's cause for concern.
Real quick, as we're going to send it to Caitlin in a moment. Tony, you've seen a lot of this horse full effort.
He's been tremendous. He's a horse who finishes. People say he's like Final Gambit. I think he's a little better than Final Gambit in the sense he has more dirt blood on the bottom. We'll see how it translates. All of his races so far have been turf and synthetic. Maybe he's at the mercy of the pace, though, this year. Doesn't seem to be a tremendous amount of early flow in the race. Full effort's one that would definitely benefit if it gets hot and lively up front.
There you see Katie Tolbert on the pony. Exercise rider Edwin Vargas is going to be aboard for this work. And as we send it down to Caitlin Free, Caitlin, full effort, Final Gambit. I know you're a little bit higher on this horse than Final Gambit, who did run fourth in the Kentucky Derby last year for Brad. This horse seems to be a better mover on the dirt, though.
I would agree, Joe. One thing that you will see from Full Effort is he kind of has a little bit of higher knee action, which is indicative of more of a turf horse. But I do think, as John Asher once said, you kind of want a little bit of grassy pedigree over a surface like we have here at Churchill Downs. It's kind of horses that kind of have a little bit more of a turfy move. But as Tony stated, this horse is bred a little bit better for the dirt than Final Gambit was. And I do agree that he's maybe a little bit of more of a prime contender. I think the race flow just set up a little bit better for Final Gambit last year, but these horses remind me of each other. This one is a half to a Grade 1 winner and a former Kentucky Oaks alumni in Power Squeeze. So this is her little brother, and he's got better blood on top, I would say, as well for the dirt. So despite how he moves over the dirt, I think it could be potentially a little bit deceptive. I think he gets over it fine, but you will see some of that high knee action once he does get into his work.
Tyler Gaffalione was hurt this time last year. Going into the Derby, going into the spring meet. He's got the mount on Final Effort for trainer Brad Cox. And Tyler picked up right where he left off at Ellis, Churchill. Now Keeneland, he's been rolling there as well.
Tyler's an excellent jockey. He knows the surface, and he'll fit this horse very nicely. Caitlin mentioned how this horse has a little higher knee action. I did see that in the workout on the 10th of April. I'm very interested to see what his action looks like now. Two consecutive workouts over the dirt.
We're going to bring Kevin Kilroy back on. Kevin, a lot of talk about the high knee action, the fact that this horse has run on turf 4 times, synthetic 3 times. It's never been in a parimutuel horse race on the dirt. It'll be interesting to see how Brad orchestrates this work today.
Yeah, it will be. You know, it's going to be exciting to see him. His last work proved to me that he loves this track. He's flying over this track with energy, with gusto in the gallop out. He's got huge energy. I think he feels at home at Churchill Downs. He's a big-time player, guys, and this is just one of many in that second tier that you're going to find a price on, and you might be able to score big in the Kentucky Derby if you can get behind.
For all of you racing fans that love gray horses, only 8 grayer roans have won the Derby. The last one, Tony?
Giacomo?
Yes, bingo,
Gato
2005.
Gato del Sol before him once upon a time with Eddie Delahousie.
We've got 14 days of this work show. You are 1 for 1 on my pop quizzes.
I didn't even know you were going to throw that to me.
That's right. That's why
I was working at Bay Meadows. I'm in the publicity. I was the announcer, and I walk into the press box, and I tell everybody, I go, you know, guys, you're going to think I'm crazy. I go, Giacomo can win today. Now, I know Ken Rudolph gets all the claim for fame for picking Giacomo. I told the boys in the press box at Bay Meadows, Giacomo had a big look, and he came through. Unfortunately, I bet Bandini with a little bit more money.
Yeah, nobody that you told bet the horse either,
I don't believe so. They all looked at me and go, boy, Kalo, he's just lost his mind.
There you see, Jeff. I've given you that look a few times.
I know you have.
The last couple of years.
Well, and everyone who knows me knows that. So
there's Chip Honcho, disappointing 5th in the Louisiana Derby. This is a horse that Steve Asmussen has said could target the Preakness instead. He He's a forward kind of runner, kind of reminds me a little bit of Track Phantom from a couple of years ago. Won the Gun Runner, 4th in the Lecomte, 2nd in the Risen Star. Couldn't make the lead in the Louisiana Derby and couldn't keep up with Emerging Market, Pavlovian, Golden Tempo, who are all maybe in that second tier of horses for this year's Derby, Tony.
Yeah, a disappointing prep. His races before that were pretty good. I thought he ran exceptionally well in defeat in the Risen Star, and I expected a bigger effort in the Louisiana Derby. The pace was quick, though. 46-1, 10-4 for a mile and 3/16. Maybe if he can get back to the tactics of the Gun Runner, where he sits a trip, he could have a little bit more to say. But he's coming off a disappointing effort.
Go to Chief Wallaby next. Now, he is not in the Derby yet, but there are 3 or 4 horses, including Star Contrast, who we mentioned, a couple of for Chad Brown that are not named Emerging Market, that are still not 100% committed. He's going to get in. Junior Alvarado, Bill Mott, they teamed up to win Kentucky Derby 151 last year, the first Derby win for Godolphin, Tony, with Sovereignty.
This is a very nice horse. He's a little inexperienced, which maybe could hurt him, but you could also say that he has room for upside. He ran exceptionally well in 2 defeats to Commandment in the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby. We all want to see him draw in. He deserves to be in the race, and once he gets into the race, he's one of the players.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of excitement about him. Mott doesn't get him cranked up to win at first gasking necessarily. Did it at 7 furlongs, 2nd to Commandment, 3rd to Commandment, beating a combined less than a length in those 2 races.
Yeah, and people were kind of knocking him a little bit in the Florida Derby. Now, he made an equipment change, I believe, with his most recent work. I believe he's going to be getting the blinkers for the Kentucky Derby if he draws in. It's hard not to like him. He's done everything right so far, and he could improve.
I'm going to go to Caitlin. She's got a good view down there. And Caitlin, obviously an exciting Derby. You know, Bill Mott won the Derby a few years ago with Country House. That was via disqualification. Had to be very gratifying for him. And Junior Alvarado is the kind of jockey that you root for.
He sure is, and Junior is going to be on hand to work this horse on Monday. We're going to catch up with him on the morning work show a little bit later on next week, but he did inform me that he's going to be on the grounds here to work Chief Wallaby coming Monday, and I believe he's going to be wearing the blinkers again in that workout, and is planning to run with blinkers in the Kentucky Derby. He's the only horse that I know of that's going to be making an equipment change as of now for the Derby, and Ed DeRosa put out some really cool stats as far as equipment changes go for the Derby, whether it's blinkers on, blinkers off. Do you guys know the last horse that made an equipment change in either the start prior to the Derby or in the Derby that actually won the race?
Wow, Tony Kalo.
I do not.
Grindstone, 1996.
Okay.
Blinkers off.
There you go. You're pulling that one, Kalo.
Yeah.
All right, Chief Wallaby, we're going to go to full effort here.
You guys better hope I don't start bringing some 60s and 70s kind of information. You guys are going to be in trouble.
We're going to need that content for later in the work show. Save it, Tony.
All right.
Here's full effort. Again, Edwin Jefe Vargas is the exercise rider. There you see one of Brad's top assistants. She's an exercise rider as well. One of the main assistants, Katie Tolbert, on the pony there. And full effort, you know, this is a horse that's going to get an important workout today. There's no question, because, Kevin, when we look at a horse like this, the terminology wild card certainly comes into play.
Switching surfaces is always a big question, and hopefully you see that price reflected in the market because of that. But as I mentioned, I mean, just the way that he has been moving so far, it makes me think that the dirt's not a question at all. I think for him, and Irad, you know, has ridden him a few times. He said that he thinks maybe he's just a little bit lazy early on the race, but he just has a ton of heart and he flies late. So how far back will he be? Will he be too far back? Will there be enough pace signed on? Those are big questions for full effort. But I'm excited to see him move with company here and see if he's as impressive as he was last week in his most recent drill.
The partners on this horse have had a lot of recent success in the Derby. Starlight won it in 2018 with Triple Crown winner Justify. 2020 with Authentic. St. Elias is also involved with this horse. Always Dreaming was their Kentucky Derby winner. Sandman last year didn't do so well. Golden Tempo is also represented for St. Elias this season. Let's go back to Caitlin.
Yeah, I wanted to correct something that I said earlier. I said Grindstone was the last horse to win with an equipment change. I got my stats confused. Grindstone was the last horse that was born in January to win the race. That's another stat we'll talk about a few days later, but Sea Hero was the last one to make the equipment change. Kind of got my 90s Derbies winners confused, but Sea Hero took the blinkers off. Ran in the Bluegrass, was 4th in that race, and then came back to win the Derby with the equipment change.
For someone that spent a lot of Kentucky Derbies in the 90s in the infield, I get my Derby winners from that decade confused as well.
Very easy to do.
All right, full effort.
Sea Hero's the one I made a couple bucks on, too.
So did James Scully.
Of course he did.
Structure.
I'm sure we'll
it's all
hear
about
that
the
story
structure.
a few times.
All right, there you see full effort.
You know what I liked about his Jeff Ruby win was that he got himself into play through the turn quicker than he did in his previous races, which probably will serve him well here in the Derby, because you don't want to be 10th at the top of the lane trying to make up ground. Look at last year's Derby. Journalism makes first run, Sovereignty's flying right after him. They're both advancing through the turn. That's what full effort did in the Jeff Ruby versus his defeats in the Leonidas and the Battaglia.
Brad Cox has said with this horse, you know, when he was a 2-year-old, I mean, he started this horse at Ellis. Brad has great meets everywhere. Ellis, not his best. That he just wasn't overly excited about the way this horse trained on dirt. And it looks like he's going to break off here momentarily. We'll pick up with that information from Brad and why he started the horse on turf and synthetics in just a bit. But we're going to go to Kevin Kilroy. Kevin, it looks like we're ready for this breeze.
Yeah, they're starting pretty early in the stretch here. I do believe, he was just smaller, and he's gotten bigger. He's really filled out, so it's just great to think about for his chances in the Derby. So, yeah, setting up, relaxed, nice. You don't see the rider moving, his hands not asking, just sitting in a good rhythm as the drill picks up here. You can see maybe encroaching just a touch on his stablemate. Guys, do we have word on who the stablemate is?
I haven't heard, Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get that information from Kevin Kirstein after the work. But, you would think that he would be challenged. Brad's very good, Kevin, and you know this is at matching these horses up.
Yeah, he's a little headstrong here. You can see he's got his gameness, his competitiveness. You can see his fight. We've been kind of seeing this in his moves throughout, that he's just got a lot of run on his mind here, and he's still relaxing nicely. You can see him coming to the finish line and just boom, getting his nose down right even with his inside stablemate, and then we'll watch the gallop out. This is so huge for all these barns as they're trying to get their horses ready to get the distance. Is he going to be asked? He's still doing it very nicely without much ask at all from the rider, from El Jefe.
Obviously, that inside horse was intended to keep full effort more than honest on the outside. He actually drew away in the work last week, a little bit of a different kind of setup. And you do see, Tony, a little bit of high knee action, but sometimes you see these turf horses and their knees are almost going to their shoulders.
Yeah, his knee action isn't as high as a bona fide, as like you just mentioned, most of the turf horses. And you also have to consider with these workouts, when you have a horse who's a legitimate late runner like he is, he's doing something that he's not really doing in his races. He's having to stay close to another horse. So it was a very efficient move, that's for sure.
Yeah, and again, 5 furlong workouts are not mile and a quarter races. They set up differently. The distances are completely longer, different, obviously, and we'll see. We want to see how these horses are moving, what their energy's like, how they finish up, et cetera, et cetera.
I thought his action was higher last week than it was today.
We go from full effort to...
Which is good. That means he's making, forward progress. on the dirt.
Right, the party, speaking of making forward progress, he's going to need to. He did earn his way into the Derby with a recent runner-up performance in the Wood Memorial.
Joe, you're just jealous. It's the Beastie Boys. Right to party. You got your fight.
You got to fight for it, Tony. You got to fight for it.
I don't know what to make of this horse. If there was a tremendous amount of pace and they go 22 and change and 45 and 109 and 4, then Right to Party could come running on. Everybody knows the Wood Memorial lacks some of the company lines. The final time not quite as quick as some of the others. A nice running style, and he is showing improvement from race to race.
I mean, Ken McPeak won the Derby in the Oaks a couple of years ago. He had a much stronger hand, but he likes to participate, Kevin.
Yeah, he does, and he got his spot here with Right to Party. You know, he's the whole barn here in Kentucky is just getting to know this this colt who's been in New York, you know, for his training. Robbie Alvarado has been riding him in the mornings. He looks better today than earlier in the week. His first move across the track, I thought he looked a little bit tight. He's kind of got that sort of compact, tighter, sort of choppy style to him in terms of just the way he's galloping here. He's going to have to move forward in a huge way. He's going to have to floor me seeing him on the track in terms of his chances to win the Kentucky Derby. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not loving the way that he's moving, but I really don't have a good feel for him, having not followed him when he's been in New York.
And Caitlin, a young up-and-coming rider that has a pretty strong Derby connection.
Yeah, Christopher Elliott is going to be on board Right to Party in the Kentucky Derby. This is, of course, his first Kentucky Derby. Now, there's going to be quite a few riders breaking their maidens in this year's Kentucky Derby, but obviously he has plenty of Derby pedigree. Stuart Elliott, his father, won this race as well as the Preakness quite a while ago. I believe he was the pilot aboard somebody named Smarty Jones.
Stuart Elliott, winner of the 2004 Derby with Smarty Jones. 6,000 career wins, one of those obviously with Smarty Jones in the Derby and Preakness, as Caitlin mentioned. Long career in the Mid-Atlantic, most recently Sam Houston. Son Chris, roughly 200 wins. We're going to take a look at Chip Honcho. Will he go in the Derby? Will he go in the Preakness? Steve Asmussen, the trainer, and Kevin, this horse has always run with a lot of speed, so if he does run in the Kentucky Derby, he's going to be a pace factor in a race that right now we're searching for some speedsters.
Yeah, you know, that could sort of, the composition of the field could maybe force Steve's hand as soon as he draws in off the AE list. You know, it's a hard read for me. It seemed like in the Louisiana Derby that distance was not his friend. But, you know, talking to Luis Saez, who rode him in the Risen Star, he battled gamely with Paladin. He thought that more distance was not going to be hard for Chip Honcho. So it's kind of a back and forth with him. He's big. He's built like he can get the distance. I liked his move last week that he put out here in terms of his slow, even, nice, steady sort of, not fast, but strong gallop out work. It looked to me in that move that Steve's still thinking the Kentucky Derby, but you just never know. So we'll see how it goes for Chip Honcho. He's definitely a big guy. He's built to get the distance. He likes this track. We can see, of course, him moving here, and I think he's moving well.
For full effort, 59 1/5 was the final clocking for the 5 furlongs. Again, the clockers here: Captain John Nichols, Don Winfrey, Pete Vestal, and Adam Wallace, who's absolutely brilliant at his job. 59 4, stark contrast. Interestingly enough, those two horses were 1-2 in the Jeff Ruby Stakes at Turfway. Let's go to Ren Carruthers for more.
Just a quick update for you, Joe and Tony. So I saw Full Effort coming in off the track. He really catches your eye. What a beautiful horse. So I shouted up to Edvin Vargas, who was aboard. I said, so how did he feel? He just goes super good. So, hey, that's a brief report for you, but I mean, that's instant reaction. So back to you guys up there in the studio.
All right, thanks, Ren. And again, just reporting from the front side with the clockers, Kevin Kilroy tells us that Chasen, Kevin Kilroy, was that workmate for Full Effort, and she's a nice filly.
She's half sibling, full sibling to Idiomatic, and has really come back to be a very nice 4-year-old, winning recently. So that's good to see. And you know, you're thinking about pairing workmates, keeping with a filly or a colt with company, you know, and how fast they are typically in the morning. Chasen's a strong mover, absolutely, and she probably kept Full Effort nice and relaxed, as we saw, you know, kind of in the stretch. I could see that he wanted, his gameness was there, his competitiveness to get forward, but he relaxed nicely just right outside of her. So I think that the barn's got to be happy with that move from Full Effort, and the time seems good.
Yeah, Edwin Jefe Vargas certainly seemed impressed based on Ren's report, and Chasen, a good workmate. I mean, we've seen This very well-bred daughter of Into Mischief win 3 of 6 starts. She's 2 for 2 this year, so good to pair him up with her, Tony.
Yeah, I thought it was a good move. As I mentioned, I thought on the 10th of April, his higher knee action, it wasn't quite as significant today. So that I find encouraging. And the fact that the time was very quick and it didn't look like they were going that fast, that just bodes well. And maybe that'll get him into the race a little earlier. As I mentioned, when he won the Jeff Ruby, he got into the race. He was very, very live before the quarter pole versus his previous efforts. And I think they want to see that continue.
Of the 3 foreign horses, Wonder Dean is the only one that has arrived so far, and he's been here for a while. He's got a couple of wins coming out of the UAE Derby in his most recent start. We will see if we can get some Wonder Dean here before the work show is over. But we're going to go back to Full Effort. We've got this replay of the work from this morning, and again, it's chasing on the inside, but Kevin, it's Full Effort doing the chasing.
Yeah, again, Full Effort. I thought this was really solid. You can just, as we talked about, relaxes nicely on the outside, full of run. I think very much touting himself in terms of how he's moving on this track, where his mind is at. When I'm seeing that, it's just that sort of forward propulsion, the way he's springing off of the track, his ears, how Edvin's handling him, really not asking much at all throughout this move. And, when teamed up with a filly, sometimes, I'll hear trainers talk about, all right, it's just not going to get as much of that sort of macho, sort of like trying to prove oneself, the two boys battling it out in the work that can just kind of keep a colt more relaxed. And so maybe that was the design for the move. I'm not quite sure. We got to talk to Brad. But I think that that's what we're seeing from Full Effort in terms of relaxing nicely, even though so full of run here in the AM at Churchill.
Not trying to show off, Tony. Full Effort was a gentleman this morning.
Yes, he was. This is a horse who does his best running from far off the pace. So in this workout, he was asked to do something he doesn't do in the afternoons. He has to stay close, and that's good. I think it's a very nice move from Full Effort, and we'll see how he comes out of it.
That's all well and good. It's a 20-horse field in the Derby, and maybe the biggest question that has to be answered is how's he going to accept taking dirt in the face? A lot of these horses have at least had that in 1 or 2 or maybe even more of their starts.
That's why post position is so important. We don't talk enough about post positions, but a race of the size of the Kentucky Derby post position, the race can kind of be lost if you get a really negative post to your running style.
Opening day is a week from tomorrow. It's a day card this year, and the post position draws, Tony, will occur early on in the card. I believe between races 3 and 4, those post positions will be set 1 week from tomorrow, 1 week out from the Kentucky Derby, and then the re-handicapping and visualizing does begin at that point.
Yeah, it really does. Right now, we're just trying to get used to what these horses look like. Kevin mentioned something good about Right to Party. He says he's not that familiar with him. Last year with Sovereignty, we weren't that familiar with him early on, and he was lathered up a lot in his early moves. As we get to know these horses a lot more, it really helps us.
All right, we're going to switch gears over to one of the 2 Riley Mott trained starters. This is earlier this morning, and let's jump aboard, Kevin, the Albus.
No, Albus Dumbledore. This is a Harry Potter situation. Albus, he's... Gosh, watching him develop, we were able to watch him train at Churchill Downs as a 2-year-old. He's always been leggy. I don't think he's put on the weight that I would want to see him, but he's moving well. He looked fantastic in the wood, getting it done there with Jaime Torres up.
Supposed to work Sunday for trainer Riley Mott. The other Riley Mott will be on the show on Sunday. I stand corrected. And Albus got to work coming up, though, here under the Twin Spires for sure. His other horse is Incredible, Tony, the dominant winner at Colonial of the Virginia Derby.
Yeah, I like Incredible more than his stablemate. I think I'm not the only one who has those thoughts. I thought Incredible looked good when he was victorious in the street sense. I know he regressed and didn't run his race in the Holy Bull, but boy, he validated that poor performance with a huge run in the one-turn Virginia Derby. So Incredible's my fancied of the 2 Riley Motts.
Albus, perfect during his 3-year-old year, broke the maiden at Tampa, then went on to win the Wood Memorial over Right to Party at the odds of almost 12-1. Riley, the longtime assistant and son of Hall of Fame trainer and Kentucky Derby winning trainer Bill Mott. So just one of the great storylines in this year's Kentucky Derby. And Tony, we're never short on storylines. We've got the rags to riches stories. We've got the big ticket items at auction and everything in between. So it'll be interesting to see how it all sorts out, but this game is built on hope and dreams.
It really is. Last year, Lonnie Briley was the one trying to carry the hopes of the underdog, and it's hard not to root for the underdogs in this business. It's fun when the little guy can get to that winner's circle in such a big moment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Eric Reed will be the first one to tell you that. He's still pitching himself over Rich Strike. All right, twinspires.com. Fast, safe, easy to use. I've got to fire up my account for Keeneland a little bit later on today. My expert picks are there for today, and they are really huge in the tournament world, Tony. The betting challenge, the Kentucky Derby betting challenge is right there with the BCBC and the NHC. Can you beat the best on Derby weekend? Prove it in the Kentucky Derby betting challenge from Twin Spires. Qualify in one of the upcoming tournaments or bring $5,000 to the table, $3,500 live bankroll. Wager across Churchill Downs' biggest races all the way to the Run for the Roses. Compete for $300,000. That's the guaranteed prize pool, plus seats in the biggest handicapping tournaments in horse racing. 7 races minimum, $250 per race, 1 leaderboard, 1 winner. Enter now at twinspires.com. Bet big, win bigger. Terms apply. See the site for details. A new type of tournament at Twin Spires, bet and set. You think you can handicap without hesitation? Try to bet and set tournaments at Twin Spires. Pick every horse, place every wager, all before the first race goes off. No edits, no do-overs. Trust your instincts versus the rest of the tournament field. Win and place bets only. Build your bankroll across 5 races. Top the leaderboard for cash and prizes. Enter now at Twin Spires. Bet it, set it, let it ride. Terms apply. See twinspires.com for details on the tournaments and all the great promotions. Joe Krzyzewski and Tony Kalo back at the set. We saw some works from yesterday. We saw live work from Full Effort. Obviously, Stark Contrast is another one that worked earlier this morning. But Tony, as we kind of put a wrap on this show, what has been the most impressive thing to you that you've seen work-wise on the show or maybe even previous?
Well, I guess it would have to be Further Ado's Gallop Out. That's the one that's really resonating. I'm a big fan of the Gallop Out. And the way he won the Bluegrass, there were a lot of question marks whether he might bounce. So definitely for me, it would be Further Ado's Gallop Out.
Yeah, Kevin, we got to see the Cox horses today. And, 3 sort of different types of works. One of those 3, something else, what impressed you?
I mean, all 3 of the Cox workers, I think, would be just what the barn wants to see. As a bettor who's interested in each of those 3, I was impressed for their individual reasons. Commandment, be able to do that time in that workmanlike fashion. Further Ado, his big energy throughout that work. Full Effort, being able to keep that gameness and intensity, but still relax in company with Chasen. All 3 super impressive. Chief Wallaby out here earlier as well. I thought he's moving very well over the track. Stark Contrast, I think, really floored his workmate, so it'll be interesting to watch that one back. But really no knocks here on anything that we saw in terms of the breezes this morning.
All right, thanks, Kevin. And we didn't get to see him on the show today, Caitlin. Maybe you got an eye on Wonder Dean. We're going to see a lot of him over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I do think that we're probably going to see Wonder Dean out tomorrow, Joe. Didn't see him out today. He did have that 2-minute lick yesterday. So if they keep up with the same schedule that they've had in recent years, the Japanese horses, I'd imagine we'll see him here tomorrow. He probably walked the shed rows this morning. We'll probably see him out in the chute during those designated training hours. I have a lot of things I want to talk about with him, so I'm excited to see him out here in the coming days. But I was definitely impressed with what I saw from Full Effort. And as Kevin mentioned, really probably all the Brad Cox horses got what they needed out of their works and were impressed for different reasons. But I like that Full Effort had a little bit of better control with the front end part of his stride. He had some better collection. So liked what I saw there from him and looking forward to more in the coming days. What about you, Ren?
We'll get to Ren. Ren, these horses are practically breathing on you down there.
I know, right? I mean, it's amazing. To be here and watching these horses go through their paces as, again, they are gearing up for the biggest race of their lives, the most famous race in the world. It is such a gift. It's such an honor to be here. I'm going on no sleep, but who needs sleep when you are on adrenaline like this? And I would also say, I mean, to be at the barn, a big thanks to Brad Cox for letting us hang out there, set up shop, see the horses up close and personal. I look forward to so much more. This was just day one. We're back for another round of this tomorrow morning. Back to you guys.
Well, thanks, Ren. The next 13 mornings down the road, we'll get the vast knowledge of James Scully. Travis Stone will be in this seat as well. We'll have Nick Tamero, the new morning line maker at Churchill Downs. And of course, Rosie Napravnik as well. So we'll have a lot of different views. We'll see a lot of different action on the racetrack. We'll get the draw. We know the drill and how this progression works, Tony Kalo.
Yes, we do. This was just the first of a lot of information we have to process.
Yeah, we are one down. We've got 13 more to go on the Kentucky Derby morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Again, if you don't see this show live, you can always go back and watch it on X, on Facebook, on YouTube. Same time, same place, same cast of characters tomorrow morning at 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time. We thank everybody that's helped us putting the show together from all across the country and the world. See you tomorrow morning.